San Juan. Can we rise for the invocation? Mr. Arjona, can you lead us?
Our heads, dear Lord, thank you for the blessing you have bestowed upon us. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today and always. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. The first item we have is appointments. Appointment of board members related to the San Juan Economic Development Corporation Board resigned. So it's open for appointment.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Armando Garza.
Is that a motion? Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
I'd like to make,
How many ayes was that? Opposed?
2, 4, and 3 against.
So 3-2?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Adrian Garza.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Adrian Garza is the new EDC member. And for the record, Mr. Adrian Garza, no relationship to myself or to my family. Thank you. Next item.
The next item, consider appointment of board members related to the San Juan Planning and Zoning Board.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Agapito Vargas.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Next item, a discussion and possible election on all the following matters. Consider authorizing city manager to enter into contract for medical, dental, and life insurance with Texas Multi-State Intergovernmental Employee Benefits Pool, TML. Before you, you have a handout that was given that I just placed. And pretty much the reason being is that this year we had a 10% increase on our premiums, and we wanted to bring it before you all. The total cost on the premium increase that took place this year is at $8,885 a month. So totaling about 97, shy of $100,000 a year. Now, some of this, the reason why behind this, like any other insurance, there were shock claims that total up to close to $4 million, if not a little bit over $4 million on the shock claims. If there's any questions, we have TML representative, Mr. Bowers. They wanted to come over. I mean, he's here for a presentation, questions and answers. And also we have Mr. Rene Jaime and Ms. Adelaida Cordero. Mr. Bowers.
Thank you, sir, for being out here this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are not familiar, first off, my name is Brett Bowers, and again, it's a privilege to speak to you guys. I work for the Texas Municipal League Intergovernmental Employee Benefits Pool. Say that 3 times in a row. But if you're not familiar with us, we are not-for-profit. We work solely with the political subdivisions, the public sector. Because we're not-for-profit, we are more competitive than an insurance company. We currently service 940 different political subdivisions, and we operate a big risk pool. And part of the value of pooling, if you're listening to the kind of the pundits in Washington and the big solution that they're talking about to fix healthcare, to go interstate and to do pooling, and well, you guys actually already getting the benefit of that strategy by being with us. So our administrative costs are extremely low. I mean, no one in our organization gets paid commission. We have an administrative overhead of 15%, which is extremely lean compared to a typical insurance company, which is usually well above 20%. And what that means to you guys is every dollar that comes into IBP, 85 cents of every dollar goes back out to pay claims and to provide service to you guys as well as our other members. So right now, unfortunately, I could just start off by thanking you guys for being in the pool. You've been with us for 3 years. Your first increase, your first year, you did not have an increase. Your second year was a 2% increase. And as was mentioned previously, I mean, right now, healthcare continues to get more expensive, and we're certainly doing what we can to mitigate that cost. But for the city of San Juan, you guys have identified about 12 individuals that unfortunately have a diagnosis which is costing the city money. And that's certainly not unique for the city of San Juan. And it's nothing that we could say we'll repeat next year, but at the same time, when we're just looking at the fiscal responsibility of managing the plan, what is warranted is a 10% increase. One of the things that we're really pushing for the city, as well as all of our membership, and we just had the benefit of that, you know, you guys spend, or not you guys, but the city spends a lot of money on the benefit plan. And historically, what we see when we look at the city of San Juan is we don't have enough people, and I hate to say the word engaged, but really, you know, using their benefit plan. And so one of the things that we did just as recently as last month is we brought out a big on-site health fair where everybody had an opportunity to get the blood draws, to get a comprehensive metabolic blood panel, to get a fecal occult. The whole idea being is if we can get people to begin to get engaged in their health, it has happened where, particularly guys, sorry, I'll pick on myself too, but we don't go to the doctor because nothing's broken. And if we can get somebody to go like we did, we had about 65 people show up, and we literally had people who otherwise wouldn't have went to the doctor to find out, hey, they've got really high blood pressure. And by the way, on this benefit plan that you guys pay for them, they can go get a generic drug for $5, spend $60 a year, and probably live 15 years longer and not have a stroke and then not end up being one of these high claims. So we're definitely working with staff to try to get that word out. We've got a lot of neat tools and just a lot of promotions. So with that, I'm talking too much, and you guys probably want to get back to your family. So if you guys have any questions, I've got a lot of information here that I could refer to if you had anything for me.
Normally, you all don't use agents, but lately I've been hearing that even you all are hiring agents now.
So you're absolutely correct. We're not an insurance company, so we don't work with brokers in the sense of like a Blue Cross would, because we don't appoint agents. But if a member or a city, they make a decision to work with a broker and they authorize, let's say, a 5% commission, it doesn't come out of our money because we're not for profit. But if the city authorizes us to bill an extra 5%, collect that contribution from our member, and then turn around and give it back to the broker, we can do that. We probably, out of 940 political subdivisions, about 80 of them are working with a local broker. And, you know, there's some comfort in that sometimes because this is a guy you play golf with, a guy to go to church with, or what have you. So we're not anti-broker, but our service model is set up where it is not a requirement. And, you know, if you guys made a decision to bring somebody on board, it would just be an additional cost to do so.
CSJ has a clinic. They have the doctors and they give the free medicals, medicines to the patients. City of FAR is joining up with that clinic. What's the opportunity for us to do something like that?
We could certainly have a conversation. Just right now, trying to figure out, orient myself in Lake Jackson. We have a situation. They actually have a shortage of doctors because all of the big manufacturing companies, all the refineries and so forth. So we're actually partnering with the county in a similar situation where we would prepay, and that's how that. So right now, you know, we pay fee for service. When somebody goes to the doctor, we get a claim, we pay. In a clinic environment, there can be some real efficiencies there because what you do is you would prepay it, so you would actually kind of pay in advance. The big trick is to try to get employees to go, but one of the ways that we would encourage or incentivize them to go is we would make it at no out-of-pocket cost. So, but right now you guys already have a $10 copay for telemedicine. You already have a $30 copay for community providers, but if there was an opportunity for us to partner and it made financial sense, absolutely, we could do that, and we could start those conversations to do our due diligence to make certain that we're looking at everything. And it may be that would be something good, and it may be at the end of the discovery period that we would collectively agree that, you know, maybe this isn't good, but we could certainly go down that path.
the 8,800 a month is in addition to what we're already paying, or how?
Yes, sir, that is correct. That's a 10% increase that they're proposing.
So what, okay, on top of what we're already paying?
Yes.
So close to 100,000. What other options do we have?
Options as far as
To
what
go
they're
out for bids?
proposing?
Right.
There's some options that they're proposing as well, like option 1, 2, 3, and 4 that is there on your package. On page number 3, if we look at it, I want to
Yeah, so,
chime on that, sir.
and again, my goal is, I delicately putting this, to kind of lay the landscape down so you guys are aware of the landscape in front of you. So without a doubt, you guys can go out to bid. You're not required to because we're a public entity ourselves, so through an interlocal agreement, you access our services, so you don't have that bid requirement that would fall to other type of commodities. But that being said, I can tell you the way the bidding process works and what we've seen, and I can certainly provide specific examples to that, but if you guys were to go out to bid, I can just go ahead and tell you, you will get a cheaper rate. That's the way the game is played. And so somebody would come in and they would see what your rate is. They would know the increase because it is been advertised. They would come in and they would say, well, not a 10% increase. We'll come in and give you a 5% increase. And it certainly, from a financial perspective, you know, thinking, hey, I can get the same plan for 5% less. But then typically what happens is the next year, because you're not part of that pool and they don't have kind of the rate stability and the equity offset, then next year it's a 30% increase. And so part of our main mission is to really have that rate stability. And like, again, you had a 0% increase and a 2% increase. It's just right now, even with that 10% increase, that's still less than what the insurance companies on an average are having for their increases. But we could certainly look if that 10% increase needed to be down some. As was mentioned, we did provide some plan options to you guys. So we could potentially bring that down to about a 5% increase with slight changes to the plan. And so, I mean, definitely want to work with you guys so you know that we provide the type of service that you guys deserve.
And the slight changes to the plan would mean increase to the employees?
Well, unfortunately, when you're trying to buy down a potential rate increase, that is kind of the byproduct. And if you look on page 3 of the handout that was provided to you, and it's kind of all in insurance-ese, kind of, you know, it's not extremely easy to read unless you do this for a living like I do. But if you'll just focus, the plan number 1, option number 1, what that does is that eliminates the $30 office visit copay.
Eliminates it.
I do not recommend that. I know
Okay.
that a lot
Reason
of your
being?
employees, pardon me?
Reason being that you wouldn't recommend it?
Because in working with cities, a lot of people don't have a lot of disposable income at their fingertips. A typical doctor's office visit in the Valley would probably cost about $100. And by having a $30 office visit copay, it protects them so they don't have an access barrier. Because what you don't want to do is all of a sudden people say, well, I don't have $100, so I'm not going to the doctor. And then that is a delay in care, and then the next thing you know, something that could have been easily treated in the beginning could unfortunately move into something that's more chronic or catastrophic. And so,
So by eliminating the copay doesn't mean that they don't pay anything. It means that they pay the full amount.
yes, sir,
Okay.
up to the deductible.
Right.
That is correct.
Thank you.
If I was looking at this, all things being equal, I would probably pick option 2. That is the exact same plan design with one variation. And what that variation is, you still have a $500 deductible, you still have a $30 office visit copay. The way any benefit plan works, whether it's Aetna, Cigna, United, Humana, Blue Cross. So with your plan, you currently have a $500 deductible. And again, that doesn't include doctor's office visit because that's just $30. But if you were to get outpatient surgery or you go to get care in the doctor's office, MRIs, CAT scans, once you pay your first $500, then you step into a cost sharing mode where currently the plan would pay 80% of all the cost and the covered individual or your employee would pay 20%. If you guys did want to buy down that potential rate increase to below 5%, all that plan does is it kind of makes it a little more quicker, meaning the plan would pay 70, and the covered individual would pay 30. But just looking from a big picture perspective, that is not a whole, it definitely, I'm not gonna minimize it by saying it's not more out-of-pocket cost. But by raising that deductible, that's an immediate hit, and I don't think that would be a good strategy. It would probably impact out of your employees. I wish I had these numbers, but I'm gonna make up, you probably only had 20 of your people this year even hit their deductible. And that's just typically the way it works. Unfortunately, you'll have 20% of your people who have 85% of the cost. And so by making a change like this, I think that would be the best one if I was to advise you. And I think anybody would probably come to a similar conclusion. Correct.
Right.
All the deductibles and out-of-pockets are the same. It just changes the cost share differential to be 10% more after that deductible is met.
On that, you have a 70/50 PPO. We understand what the 70 is, but what's the 50 for?
50 is standard for all of our plans, so that wouldn't be a benefit change. So, and your employees, they know to go in network. Because if you go in network, then we have a contract, we can minimize their out-of-pocket costs, we can control costs. If, however, they choose to go out of network, they can do so, but then it's 50% co-insurance, and nobody wants to do that because it's just
More
money.
expensive, right?
Much
Yeah.
more expensive,
Yeah.
and we don't have the contracts to do quality of care and that oversight that everybody would want to have.
So on the $500 deductible.
Yes, sir.
The reason why it's $500 because we're in a much bigger pool, right? Versus if we go with like we go with a private insurance, their deductible can be $1,000 or $1,500 because it's a much less pool.
There's some truth to that, but when you guys came with us, I guess 4 years ago, 3 years ago, this was the plan that we quoted you guys. But we do, I mean, this is it's a good benefit plan with a $500 deductible. We don't have a lot of those. I would say the majority of the cities around me that we service don't have a $500 deductible. They have a $1,000 deductible.
Oh, wow.
So we got tons of plans, but you guys have this plan that you've picked. And so, but there is some truth in this as far as, the pooling concept. If I could, I don't know if this will be helpful or it'll get us caught in the weeds, but it is so important. If you look on, I guess it would be the second to the last page.
The city's been able to maintain with most of the insurance companies because of our employees can't pay $1,000.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Although they do have those options.
Right.
But because the pool is more important, it's because we've actually advocated for that.
It helps with recruiting and retention, and again, that's the neat thing about working. I've worked in the public sector, the private sector. Here's the difference. If you're Joe's welding shop down the street, I mean, those guys have turnover. I mean, the people that start working for us, they're here for 30 years. And so, there are brothers and sisters and so forth. And so that's one of the things why we've really got to do a good push in our clinic. Might be a great opportunity, but we've got to get people more engaged in their health to take care of themselves. Because that's the only way healthcare is going to go in the right direction. Exactly. Is if people, make those lifestyle decisions that help them live longer and have less claims attached to it. And so it's a big push. It's not just for IEBP. Collectively, that's kind of the word, but we certainly have got a lot of momentum behind that. I had referenced something on page 7. I'm sorry, my document's a little different, but I can just real quickly, talking about the power pooling. And so one of the things that, and I have a document that is somewhere, when you guys come into the pool, or if you were to get a quote from Blue Cross, there's just basic standard protocol of we need your census, and your census is going to have your age and your gender of all your people. We need the plan design that you guys are requesting. Yeah, that was the one. If it's helpful, I mean, I'm kind of walking through it. So you have the census and you have the plan design, and then based upon different parts of Texas, there's different costs. And so obviously, if you're in Dallas where there's so much competition, healthcare costs, there's more, there's a different cost than it would be down here in the valley. When we look at your rate, and so that would be the same for Blue Cross. They would do the exact same thing. And so actuarially, it's going to take those three things and it's going to spit out what's called a manual rate. And all that does is it's an actuarial calculation that says, okay, based upon your census and your plan design, this should be your rate. And then every insurance company or not-for-profit company, then they look at the actual risk, and based upon your claims data, you may be way above what it should be, or you may be way below. When you guys came in, you came in really competitive. And so what I was looking at is right here is when you guys came in, you came in 24 points below manuals. And so with the no increase the first year and the 2% increase the second year, you're still currently about 23% below what the computer's telling us to do. So even with a 10% increase, if you were a new group and we were just going off manuals, you guys would still be 15% lower than the actuarial value of your census and plan design. So that's not to say, again, that there wouldn't be somebody out there who's trying to get your business that would try to go below that. But really, I don't often have the opportunity to stand in front of one of our members and go, wow, with a 10% increase, you're still 15% below manuals. I mean, it doesn't happen as often as I'd like.
Do you have any, what do you call them, those programs to help in, creating incentives for the employees to getting some wellness fit programs?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And so a big component, I was talking about that push for the on-site wellness, for any one of your employees or their dependents over age 18. And again, we had 65 of your people go through that. If they do those local biometric screenings, or they can go to their community doctor. So we're not, if somebody's got a relationship with a doctor, we're not saying, hey, go here instead. But if they do those tests and then they go online and do a health risk assessment, we mail each one of them a check for $150. And so that's one of the big pushes. We've been trying to get some momentum. Unfortunately, the participation over the last 3 years has been, it hasn't been what we wanted. And so this year, I think, hopefully we'll have at least 65 people doing it because we brought it here on site. And that's just one of the things, to get people, you just hate to do it. But people have a hard time getting engaged unless you take away every barrier. So when we bring this on site, we're not only helping you guys, you're not having to leave work, you're not having to go sit in a waiting room and get infected by everybody's diseases. And we know it's going to be billed correctly. There's no out-of-pocket cost. And so when we bring that here locally, was a huge thing. And probably in the next 3 months, we're going to be bringing out the 3D mobile mammogram bus, and that's going to be making its tour down here. But to answer your question, every single covered individual over the age of 18, every single year has an opportunity to earn $150. We will cut them a check directly if they do their annual screenings, either locally or with their doctor, and they have to go online and do a health assessment. And then we've got professional health coaches and a lot of machinery behind them to support. Once somebody actually starts taking advantage of their preventive benefits, well, guess what? We have their prescription claims, we have their medical claims, we have their lab values. Once that happens, then our professional health coaches work with your employees if we identify someone who is pre-diabetic, and they, that's confusing. Even if you're in the business, the medication changes anyway. Once we can get somebody in the system, to put it in a weird way, then our professional health coaches work with the individuals to try to assist them. Okay, you have diabetes now. Here's about 5 things you need to do. HbA1c, diabetic retinopathy, all of these different things. And I'm not a clinical person, but that's how we get our best experience for your employees as well as for the health plan is by getting them engaged and then attaching them to a professional health coach so they can start, having that lifestyle.
So these 3 years, you never introduced nothing like that to this city? This past 3 years, you have not introduced
A wellness program?
the wellness program?
I have not been to this council and discussed that. You're correct. It has been discussed, has it not? Or
It's been part of the plan.
it's just, Yeah. We've been doing it since 2006, so it's,
Yeah, because
We have to promote it.
yeah,
No, we
no,
have to-
well, actually, what the insurance calls me, and we have nurses that call me and say, "You're diabetic. Hey, what are you doing? How's your pressure? Are you checking your pressure?" That's what, and then we go, "Hey, do you smoke or you don't smoke?" It's what we call it a red brick something deal, and they send you an incentive of $200 or 150, whatever. But but the insurance calls the employee. It's a benefit that the insurance pushes it. So the better the employee gets involved, they help you get involved.
yep, and we do that. We even bought a brand, I mean, and again, we're not unique to this because you obviously, we just expanded our website now where people, when they can log on, they can connect their Fitbits, to it. They can track their diet, they can track their diabetes, their sleep pattern, their asthma. And so you're absolutely correct. I mean, it's not enough for us just to come out once a year and say, hey, and expect it to stick.
And I know that the state also helps out and puts part of it. They want to make sure that the obesity is not there, and they kind of join in partnerships. So that's what I'm looking for, where we can give this kind of service to our employees, and they can have a choice. If they don't use it, well, then it's up to them. But it's not that it doesn't cost us a lot more to have those services, and especially when we have had people in our employees that have had some illnesses, pretty difficult illnesses, and then when they go through it, it hurts us, and sometimes we can't help them because it's a totally different, whatever, heart attack or stroke, and it's not covered in unemployment or stuff like that.
Right, and I would love to work with your staff to do. I mean, it's certainly, we've got I call it a little toolbox. I mean, we can come out here and promote. We can even do, where this works best is, it's kind of a top-down approach. You guys might already do 5. City of Brownsville, we service them. They did the world's record for the most people Zumba, and so yes, we're talking about employee benefits, but just kind of building that culture of wellness within a community, and that's one of the things we're doing by bringing that 3D mammogram bus, and we'll be working. I mean, if you guys have any private sector businesses that that can share in that bus, trust me, those people that run that bus, the more people going through there, they're going to be happy. Our main focus is political subdivisions, but yeah, that whole community kind of perspective is definitely important.
I'd like to add that last year we had a number of people that also did biometrics, where they have an opportunity to come here and do the blood work without having to pay an out-of-pocket because it's a part of preventative health care. But out of those people that did that, maybe 33 went the whole route to get the $150. There's different steps that they have to do to be able to qualify for that. And it's things that we should do, our annual exams and the extra little test, and filling out a questionnaire online that shows whether you're whether you're at risk for health issues. But out of those 30 people that did the biometrics last year, only 3 of them actually went the whole route to get the $150. So it's like Ade was saying, it's the employees that need to participate also. One question I had here on option 2, at the end, if somebody had a $10,000 medical bill, would their out-of-pocket be any more than it is currently?
No, sir. No, the only thing would change is the 70% versus 80%. So, yeah.
So it would be the same cost?
It would be the exact same out-of-pocket cost.
Not, right, out of pocket.
But again, and you're absolutely correct. You first have to satisfy your deductible. And I can pull that report, and I'm sorry I don't have it with me, but again, probably 20% of your employees have not even met that deductible, so they would not even be aware of a plan change. Now, the 20% who are, accessing healthcare, obviously, they would feel that. But as Renee pointed out, at the end of it, if somebody's in a catastrophic hospitalization, it's going to be the exact same out-of-pocket today as it would be next plan if you guys made this change, because all it does is change that percentage of how much the cost share is to get to that out of pocket. So.
And these options are good for how many days? How much time do we have?
Well, and here's the deal. It has nothing to do with us trying to wrangle anything. It's healthcare reform. So part of the PACA, or the Accountable Care Act, is we are required by law, as if any insurance company. So, and just so you guys know, we're fully compliant with the Accountable Care Act. But we have got to, by law, put on your website for your employees their new benefits, even if it stays the same. There's little subtle differences in some of the coverage that isn't worthy of a conversation here, but you know, some things that we're doing with outpatient visits have increased for speech therapy. But we have got to post on your website 30 days before the effective date, so that's going to be at the end of August. And so also we have an online enrollment system, and we have to build the rates in and so forth. So our internal deadline to make all this happen is July 7th. Now, that does not mean that you guys, you know, that's an internal deadline that we stick to, and there's some ways to look at that. You know, again, I was talking beforehand. If you just signed, if you wanted to do an option, and you made the decision that that was in the best interest of the city, then we would get that, and then essentially we could turn that in, and it would be good to go for 10/1. If you guys didn't do that by July 7th, then unfortunately, because of the timelines, we would have to wait till November to do it. You can still do it. We just couldn't meet all the deadlines if we did meet that time frame. Please.
Before the insurance used to be effective in January, but we put it back to October, so it runs concurrent with our budget. So they know to plan for increases and things like that. So that's why the timeline, you know, and also for October 1st, the city collects a month in advance for premiums. So that kicks us back a little bit also. So just wanted to share that with you, to take that into consideration as well.
What do you recommend, Mr. Arjona?
Well, there's a, I mean, the presentation is very obvious. I mean, the first one is a 10% increase. That we're looking at about 96, a little bit shy of 100. The second option that he just talked about, we're looking at a 4.87% increase, which more than likely to be at about 45, 47, something like that. The other option is to go out for proposals. Now, what he's saying is that he'll take this proposal, even if we go out for RFPs. Now, that's gonna, the only, and I don't think that it's gonna be an issue about the timing. It's just the fact that we're gonna have to work on it so that our employees are not out of coverage come October 1st.
Right. And I think we owe it both to our employees and then to our residents, our taxpayers, because personally, my vehicle insurance went up. So I don't want to pay more. So I'm already going out there and looking for a better option. And I think if we don't do that for our taxpayers that are, I mean, that's where the money is coming from, then we're not doing our job. So
I would like to make a motion to go out for bids.
I second that.
You got a motion, a second, and a motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Is there any other information? Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next item under executive session. The San Juan City Commission will now go into closed session pursuant to the provision of Chapter 551, Subchapter D, exceptional requirements that meetings be open 551.074, personal matters, in accordance with item number 1, 551.074, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, interim city secretary position. Item number 2, 551.074, to deliberate the appointment, employment, and duties of a public officer and or employee, city secretary position, interviews the applicants. Got a motion?
Motion.
Is there a motion to go into second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will be going to executive session at 6:04. 7 p.m. We have a motion to reconvene,
So moved.
open session. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Back in.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Maria Rosas.
Item number 1 first, no?
You can take you can take it out of order and then
Oh, we can.
point and then go back to item number 1.
The city secretary?
It's in the motion?
There's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Diana Cavazos as city secretary.
Second.
Been second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. And then we go to,
And so on the item number 1, if I can have a motion for Ms. Palmira, I guess, to continue as interim until your appointment can start. So she'll continue.
Contingent upon, yes.
Right, because it'll be contingent on her background and all that stuff, so she'll continue until that's cleared. If we can have
okay.
for a motion.
Is there a motion for Palmira to continue
So
as the
moved.
interim city secretary?
So moved.
It's been moved. All those in favor say aye.
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 And just to, for the record, is she's going to continue until,
Into the,
background and all that can be cleared with the newly appointed city secretary, correct?
Correct. Okay. That's correct.
Legal counsel, can we also put the second person in case it doesn't work out with the first one?
Yes, you can do it as a runner-up, but you'll have to change the motion. So you'll have to, you appoint,
I would have to
you
amend
can
my motion.
amend your motion to say, list your number 1, and if it doesn't pass.
doesn't work out.
Number 2.
Okay, so I would amend my motion to appoint Diana Cavazos as the city secretary with Maria Rosas as second choice.
Subject to the clearance.
so move.
So move. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn? So move. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting has been adjourned. Thank you.